Hey Clashers, a tier list for Clash Mini from one of the top players? No problem, let's dive into it. Let's take a look at every single hero in Clash Mini and every single mini and rank all of them in one big list. Let's start with the heroes. And at the hero tier level, we have the Queen at the highest tier. And if this would be only based on level 10 gameplay, we would have had the Queen on its own tier because she's just so much more stronger than every other hero in the game. But if we consider all of the other level as well, which is obviously what we want to do, Queen and King are way closer. For lower level, King is a bit stronger, but as we're getting higher in the level, the Queen is getting stronger and stronger and overtake the King slowly. After that, a big surprise maybe, the Shield Maiden. The Shield Maiden is pretty decent into a lot of different heroes with some really cool decks, which I'm going to share the next couple of days. And then we have the Royal Champion after that. The Royal Champion, especially with level 10, can be really strong. So far as you know, only one player has unlocked this level 10 Royal Champion. So we don't have any gameplay from that. But the next hero is going to be the Monk. The Monk can actually win a couple of those matchups versus the King, versus the Shield Maiden because of his super. And the big loser apparently in this update, in this patch right now, is the Contest. She had a heavy nerf and she's really struggling to find a good spot in the meta. And this is why I put her in the D tier. But now let's dive into all of those minis and let's see which is the best mini right now in Clash Mini. And we're starting things off on the D tier level, the worst level for all of those mini, and we're going from the right to left, which means we're going to get better and better over this video. The worst mini right now in the game is unfortunately the Healing Ranger. She's just way too inconsistent. Even if she's getting her super off, the Healing Spear, it has the chance to miss, which is making her even worse. So she's really not in a good spot at the moment. The next mini is going to be the Spear Goblin. This might be a big surprise to a lot of you, but with the Prince being all around, you have to protect this mini to get the spear off, which is really not what you want to do. You want to snipe on an offside, which is not really possible. So the mini Spear Goblin right now is not in the best place either. The next mini on this list is going to be the Knight. The Knight is not in a good spot either because of the Barbarian King meta. His ability, the block ability, is going to reduce the damage by 1. But with the Barbarian King being all around, he's still going to take damage because the Barbarian King ability is boosting the damage from all of the minis by 1. So the block is not really that successful anymore, which is turning this mini sadly into kinda useless. The next mini on the list is going to be the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is doing good in a meta where a lot of tanks or a lot of melee units are around. But there's just so many other minis which are doing the job better. At the same time, she's kind of inconsistent and not good against ranged heroes, which is, yeah, kind of leaving her in the D tier as well. But let's climb quickly. Let's go to the C tier. At the lower end of the C tier is going to be the mini Pekka. The mini Pekka right now as well, it's kind of like in between of a tank and a damage dealer. That does not really fit into the current meta, unfortunately, and it's not giving you that much flexibility. In addition to that, it's a 3 elixir unit, which, well, normally you have only 2 out of them in your deck. The next one, the Electro Wizard, the Fallen. The greatest mini in the first patch has fallen down to the C tier. Maybe it's going to be a good combination with the Royal Champion, but because no one has the Royal Champion really yet on level 10, the Electro Wizard is just not good. It's not really good fitting into the Queen deck, in Monk, in Shield Maiden, King, nor really you can't fit this mini in. It's way too weak now, so I think it deserves the C tier now. The next mini on the list is going to be the Bowler. The Bowler as well had a really hard fall. From one of the best minis to one of the weaker minis as well. You can still use it, don't get me wrong. It's still a pretty decent Queen counter, but at the same time, that's it. And you have to hit it. There is so many more other possibilities which are more consistent, which we're going to talk later in this video, obviously, as well. Next mini on the list is going to be the Wizard. Wizard, some people might be surprised that it's down to the C tier, but I think even though it provides this anti-heal, it is really not that consistent with the X format where the damage is coming in. So if you see you're up against the wizard, you can really easily build up against that. And you have to invest a lot of elixir into the wizard to actually be useful. First, the anti-heal, otherwise this unit is not really, this mini is not really usable. The next one is you have to get the bigger X, otherwise it's really easy to counter position-wise. And this is turning the wizard in not one of those greater minis at the moment. Let's go to the B tier. In the B tier, we have the ice wizard, the bigger brother of the wizard, which is doing way better at the moment in, for example, queen decks. But even queen players right now are kind of switching away from this mini and instead using the next mini on the list, which is the guard. The guard has overtaken now the knight by a long shot compared to the last patch, where the knight sometimes was a good option instead of the guard, but now the guard is so much tankier. As well, you can use the 3rd star ability to tank, for example, the prince charge and many other burst damage abilities at the beginning, for example. So it's a really good tank, and at the same time, with the 3rd star ability, it takes some time to cast, which means it's a really easy mini to use to defend against the miner in the back end, because it will stay on the same spot for quite some time, casting its ability with the 3rd star power, which is giving him a lot of power actually. And at this point I want to mention that most of those minis are usable. The meta where we're in right now is turning pretty much every single mini in being somewhat useful, depending on the combination. Even if the guard is in the B tier, which does not sound that great, he's still a good mini to use and a really good additional mini to use in some of the decks. So don't understand this list wrong. A lot of minis are viable at the moment. I think the balance mini-wise is in a really good spot for most of those minis. Next mini on the list is going to be the musketeer. The musketeer is a must-have for some of those ranged heroes. So for example, the queen. The musketeer is a must-have, pushing away barbarian kings or other heavy units which are charging in is a really key thing for you. So the musketeer deserves from me for sure the B tier. The next one is going to be the prince. The prince in the beginning was overtaking Clash Mini, but then with people kind of identifying how to stop this charge and how to like kind of make sure that this charge is even missing, it dropped down quite a bit. So now the prince is still a really good fit, especially for some of the queen decks which are trying to defend. Otherwise, for the barbarian king, for example, it really limits you on the flexibility. So even though in the beginning everyone was using the prince, now it's going down quite a bit and they're opting into other minis, which we're going to get into the next tier. But now, one last mini on this tier list is going to be the Magic Archer for the B tier. Magic Archer, I have seen already a couple of people put it in the A tier, a couple of them put it in the C tier. The reason why the Magic Archer is kind of high in the middle is because it's working really well for the Barbarian King versus the Queen. But even there's counterplay possibilities for the Queen player. So I think it's not like you pick this mini and you win, so I don't think it's going to push that higher because no other hero is using this mini otherwise. So let's move one tier up. We're going up into the A tier. A tier, at the bottom set we have the Dark Goblin. I just think the Dark Goblin right now is an incredible consistent damage dealer for a lot of those melee tank heroes. So for example, for the king, it's a good carry. For the shield mate, it's a really good carry as well. For the monk, for example, as well. So a lot of those heroes are using this unit, using this mini as one of the main carries. But there's obviously some tankiness in there as well. With moving to the next mini, we have the Mega Knight. The Mega Knight in the last couple of days, everyone is using it. Everyone is suddenly using it. And there's a one specific reason. Most of those Barbarian King decks are using a lot of melee troops, which means if you can get a good knock-up with this Mega Knight, you have an insane advantage. So this mini can turn the entire fight with a good knock-up on its head really easily. In addition to that, versus the Queen, for example, versus the Royal Champion, it can really nicely tank the Royal Champion shield, or for example, tank the shots of the Queen, because even though you're putting only dropping the mini on the field, it has already so many hit points, so it's a really good tank option. The next mini, Well, the pekka, he's still really good, and he's one of the best counters versus the miner in the back, because the pekka is so slow, means he's always staying around your backline units, so dropping the pekka in the back versus the miner is one of the best things you can do as well. So that's why the miner and the Mega Knight, as kind of the tank buddies, are that high up in this tier list. The next mini on the list is going to be the Battle Healer. The Battle Healer is for me a really difficult one to rank, because at the higher ranks, it's kinda not that strong, because a lot of people know how to go against this type of mini, because if you can target it out, it's not that strong. But if you're keeping it alive for too long, it can just entirely carry a fight. So in the lower ranks, especially with lower heroes, where you don't have that much burst, this mini can change your life, can change your outcome of pretty much any battle, where you can protect that, and while the Battle Healer will protect your minis then for you. Battle Healer, so in the middle of the A tier, I think that's a really deserved spot. Next one, the Lumberjack. The Lumberjack is one of the most important minis for a lot of different carry decks, which means the Lumberjack, the big difference maker, if you have Queen versus Queen, whoever is going to have the Lumberjack in a better position or can rage the Queen up faster is going to win. Because the Queen is such an important unit that you want to have this ability off as fast as possible. In the last patch it was, get the Queen ability off, make sure that the Queen ability rage is giving your Electro Wizard the charge he needs to fire first. Now, it's all about the Queen itself. Make sure that your Queen is hitting her ability first, and you are going to win the Queen versus Queen matchup. So this is important, really important. So I think the Lumberjack really helped there is as well, for sure, kinda obvious. Next one is going to be the Giant Skeleton. I think the Giant Skeleton, for a lot of those melee heroes, is still like a sleeper mini. I think you can use it in pretty much every single deck. The only deck where I would not recommend it is with the Shield Maiden. You can use it in Barbarian King, you can use it in Contest, in Monk, in Royal Champion, and especially Queen. The stun, the damage, just the tankiness of this mini alone can win you matches with this Shield Maiden, with this Queen deck, which means use it in the front, make sure that the Barbarian King is running into it, and you're going to win your match with your Queen. And this means we're going to get to the S tier. The S tier is really surprising maybe for a lot of you, because it only consists of 2 elixir minis. And the reason for this is every single mini can be a carry in this S tier. We have the miner, no big surprise for all of you. I think everyone has witnessed how a 3-star miner completely wrecks the backline if you mispositioned your tank. But at the same time, the miner is not at the highest, like not in the first place, because you can counter it if you're really good. A guard, a pekka, things like those can really nicely counter the miner, but it's not easy. And if you misplace one of your minis only one tile, the miner is going to take over. The next mini in this list might be a big surprise, because it's coming from the D tier of last patch into the S tier in this patch, and that's the Barbarian. The Barbarian is, especially for lower heroes, one of the most important minis to keep alive. 3-star your Barbarian, and it's going to win 1 versus 6 versus the attacking army, because, well, as soon as it's stacking up, it's going to go non-stop, especially with the Shield Maiden, especially with the Barbarian King. You are going to have your main carry in this Barbarian. He's insanely strong, and if you cannot take it down quickly, you're going to lose, trust me. The next one is going to be the Archer. The Archer, in my opinion, you can use in pretty much every single deck. The reason why the Barbarian is not over the Archer is the Barbarian cannot be really used by the Queen, and not really used by the Royal Champion, for example. Only melee heroes can really use it and make good use of this mini. But the Archer can be used in every single deck. It's really key in Shield Maiden, in Barbarian King, for example, to get into the backline versus the Queen, for example. But at the same time, you can even use it in a Queen deck. This mini, it can be used everywhere, and it's insanely dominant at the moment in high ranks, low ranks, everywhere in the leaderboards. Well, I hope you like this tier list. Let me know where you would do things different. Which mini did I completely rank different? Which mini would you put different? Maybe regarding different hero levels and different playstyles. This ranking for me is based on my experience, obviously, with level 10 gameplay and what I've seen on Discord servers with lower level heroes. So let me know how you think this tier list should look like, and I will see you in the next video. and make sure to follow this channel for more high level gameplay for Clash Mini. See you then, until then, and bye bye.